What is going on, YouTube? What is going on, Kansas City? What is going on, Jayhawk Nation? And what is going on, everybody? And welcome to the Beat of KC. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lucas Murphy, and today we're going to be providing you a game preview of the Kansas Jayhawks hosting the Cincinnati Bearcats inside Lawrence, and it's going to be incredible. The David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium is going to be rocking, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be the second consecutive Big 12 conference game inside that stadium. This game will be conducted on September 27th. It is a Saturday, and the unique thing about it, it's family weekend. So if you're a fan, I suggest you get on out to Lawrence, get into David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium, and enjoy family weekend. I'm sure it'll be a blast, and that place is going to be rocking, and you're going to get a tremendous football game. I truly believe that. So it'll be something to really kind of see. Now, kickoff is scheduled for 11 a.m., and it'll also be broadcasted on TNT and a few other places. And one of the cool things is Mike Golick Jr. will be a part of that broadcast. I'm excited to hear that. I'm a big fan of Mike Golick Jr., and I really like how him and his dad host their show. So it'll be pretty interesting to see him cover this football game. We're going to jump in. We're going to talk a little bit of game preview, but on top of that, we're also going to kind of give you some insight. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the success that Kansas has had, and we're going to talk about some of the success that Cincinnati's had and how these two teams will match up and square off. Now, this is going to be the fourth meeting between Kansas and Cincinnati, with Kansas leading this series. Now, the last time these two teams met, this really kind of steamrolled the Bearcats, winning 49-16, and that was in 2023. And the last time that this team, the Bearcats showed up in Lawrence was back in 1995, ladies and gentlemen. So it's been a little bit since the Bearcats have visited Lawrence, Kansas. And in that game, Kansas would come out victorious 23-18. So it'll be exciting to welcome the Bearcats to Lawrence. I'm excited to see this football game. Now, Kansas enters with a 3-1 overall record. They are currently 1-0 in Big 12, and they're coming off of that absolute domination against West Virginia, winning 41-10. Now, Cincinnati is also 2-1, and they are 0-0 in Big 12 play at the moment. The last game that they played in, they actually won 70-0, and that was over Northwestern State. The Cincinnati Bearcats opened up the season facing off against Nebraska inside Arrowhead, where the Kansas City Chiefs played. It was a phenomenal football game, ladies and gentlemen, and it came down to the very end. Nebraska would come out victorious 20-17. But since then, the Bearcats really haven't played a formidable opponent. And then we just covered that they played Northwestern State, really kind of steamrolling and winning 70-0. Now, that's obviously building confidence, but they're coming off of an open week. And so it'll be interesting to see how the Cincinnati Bearcats come out against an opponent that is really kind of equivalent to where they're at. And so it'll be interesting to see for sure. So we're going to jump in. We're going to talk a little bit about Kansas and some of the things that we've experienced lately with them. So the first thing that we're going to talk about, and I really think one of the most important things for this Kansas team, is the functionality and really the optimization of this Jayhawks defense. If this Jayhawks defense is playing to its full capability, they're fully healthy, which we still have seen some guys not play, but for the most part, we're seeing guys step up and play significant roles. The Jayhawks defense has been absolutely phenomenal at home. And that's where this game is going to be played. They've only allowed 24 points in 3 games at the new stadium and outscoring opponents 118-24. Now, we did have teams like Fresno State. We did play Wagner. But then on top of that, we played West Virginia, a Big 12 opponent. So for us to be really putting up those types of points, I think that speaks to how not only the offense is playing, but how stifling this defense can be. And they are led by linebacker Trey Lathan. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm a huge fan of Trey Lathan. Trey Lathan has been an absolute monster for this defense, and I think he stepped up in a big way. He is a transfer from West Virginia. He's come over, and he's really kind of settled into a role, and he's been a monster. He's leading the team with 28 tackles. He's got 4.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and does have an interception, which happened to come against his former team in West Virginia. Now, another player that we've all been excited to see, and he's really stepped up as well, is defensive end Dean Miller. He had his first sack and 7 tackles last week. Defensive tackle Blake Harold also recorded 7 tackles and 1 tackle for a loss and a fumble recovery. And obviously, one of the big guys that I enjoy watching, he was really kind of dealing with an injury. He talked about it heading into this West Virginia game, was Bengali Kamara. I'm hoping to continuously see him, play and perform up to the standard that we expect him to play at, and I'm sure he expects to play at. He's an absolute monster coming off the end, but he really is a good football player, and I do have a ton of respect for him to fight through injuries and play at a standard and a level that he has been. So it's been absolutely awesome to see. Now, offensively, we're going to flip over to the other side of the football. Obviously, we're led by number 6, Jalen Daniels. He threw for 3 touchdowns, and he's rushed for 69 yards and has 12 passing touchdowns so far on the year. And so far, in a culmination, he's had 117 passing yards, has thrown 2 interceptions, plus 159 rushing yards. Now, last week, we really highlighted Levi Wentz, and Levi Wentz has been low-key kind of a good piece for this offense. He's a great wide receiver, and, he's pairing well with Cam Pickett and Emmanuel Henderson, so we're really kind of seeing Levi take that step, and I'm really excited to see him continue to grow within this offense. Bowden Grown came out of nowhere, ladies and gentlemen, at least for me, he did. Caught a touchdown pass, was absolutely phenomenal. And then, of course, we're talking about a running back room that is absolutely stacked, ladies and gentlemen. It is led by Daniel Highshaw. Highshaw happened to leave against West Virginia with an injury, but guess what? You just get the next guy to step up, and that was Leshawn Williams. Leshawn Williams transfers in from Iowa and absolutely just goes beast mode. He had an absolute insane game last week against West Virginia. He did go off for 129 yards on the ground and a touchdown, and I do believe he also caught a touchdown pass as well. So this offense, when clicking and they're running the plays that actually mesh with them, I really think that this offense can just click and go. And I think that's where it's going to be difficult for a Cincinnati Bearcats team, because if this team really starts to build confidence and they really start to run the football the way that we know they can, you implement also on top of that the ability to throw the football with guys like we talked about Emmanuel Henderson, we talked about Levi Wentz, and we don't want to forget Cam Pickett, plus the multiple tight ends that this team has. You're really gonna have a challenge. And I think if they're able to do that, Cincinnati's going to have a problem. Now we're going to flip over and kind of talk a little bit about Cincinnati. They are led by quarterback Brendan Sorsby. He really has been a pretty solid quarterback. He is in his second year after transferring from Indiana. He currently has 655 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 175 rushing yards with 4 touchdowns on the ground. Now you can see that he is a dual threat. And I truly believe that, for the most part, outside of the Missouri game, the Kansas Jayhawks have managed what would be classified as a dual threat quarterback for the most part. West Virginia did bring in a backup quarterback last week that really was more or less on the ground, but that was also so late into the football game that I think they were in more of a prevent, and they also just started letting younger, talented players come in. And so it really wasn't the full-on defense to stop that. I do believe that the Kansas Jayhawks can manage a dual threat quarterback, and I think we will see that against the Cincinnati Bearcats. And so we're also going to kind of talk about Joe Royer. He is a all Big 12 tight end for the Cincinnati Bearcats. And I think, you can kind of really toss him in there as a receiver. He has 138 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then you also have to talk about transfer wide receivers Cyrus Allen and Jeff Caldwell. 21 catches, 317 yards, and 4 touchdowns combined. So they do have some opportunities. But I really think, ladies and gentlemen, that the Kansas Jayhawks are going to be able to take advantage of the home field advantage, it being family weekend, this team being absolutely amped and ready to go. And I do anticipate the Kansas Jayhawks trying to run the football and really kind of establish the ground game to then set up their passing game. And I do believe that the Kansas Jayhawks will come out on top. I do believe that. I appreciate you guys checking out this video as always. Let me know down in the comment section, who do you think is going to win this football game? Do you believe it's going to be the Kansas Jayhawks, or are you leaning towards the Kelsey brothers and the Cincinnati Bearcats? Let me know down in the comment section. Make sure you guys smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and as always, have a good day.